Hello, everyone, and welcome to JT Mindfulness Talk. So, it's been a while that we have been live, and I'm today we have special guest. I wouldn't say a special guest, but she is special in a way that all the way from Vietnam, and she is my co JT Mindfulness coach, and basically you can see the age gap here, right? It's a very huge gap. How nonetheless, right? Her name is Jenny. Jenny brings with her vast knowledge and experience, and in terms of her dealings with people, she's very much a people person. She has a great following in Vietnam, and in fact, in this part of the world, in Malaysia as well as in Singapore. Okay, so on top of that, Jenny is an NLP trainer. So what you are getting today and for the oncoming sessions that we will have will be myself and Jenny will be anchoring this program that we have. So in a way that we would like to bring to people, to help people to mediate their lives by using mindfulness techniques. Okay. So without further ado, let me hand on the floor to Jenny.
Okay, thank you so much for a very warm introduction. And yeah, I think I would like to introduce a bit about myself and the reason why I'm here with Sean to kind of like host this session today. My name is Jenny. I'm 21 years old this year, and I'm from Vietnam. Just last year, I was certified as a mindfulness coach. However, I think mindfulness has been a very big part of my life for the last 3 years, I would say. As a young person stepping into my adult life, the mindfulness practice has really helped me to deepen my roots into life and to really stay grounded um, in everything that I do, and also help me gain much deeper insights into my own values and help me connect with other people as well. So for the topic today, I think we have like a pretty exciting topic. And especially as a young person, I would love to discuss about this, which is how can we stay grounded and how do we unwind during the busy season? Like, for example, if you are a student who is in the middle of your assignments, like a college student, a university student, or you are in like the working industry and you just have a lot of tasks to catch up on. So how do we maintain our wellness and how do we maintain our well-being when we are in the middle of so many things, especially in this like modern era, and especially when me myself as a Gen Z, I'm just constantly exposed to a lot of social media platforms, and it can be very overwhelming sometimes. So how can we have a balance to that and create a sustainable lifestyle for our well-being? So actually, I am this is my first time on the platform. However, I will be actually a host today, and I would like to ask some of the questions and to discuss further with Sean today. And especially as a young practitioner, a young mindfulness practitioner seeking experience from the senior as well. So I would like to invite Wishon back. And yeah, I think we could start our session today by me asking you. Um, have you ever experienced burnout, or like, especially when you are very busy with your work, busy with different responsibilities in life? Like, have you ever experienced burnout, and how bad was it?
Okay. Um, as a matter of fact, I did experience something very similar about for the past few weeks, and it's basically the demands of juggling um, career, business, as well as personal and even finances. Mm. So I believe that that is something that many of us would face, regardless whether you are Gen Z or a baby boomer or Gen X like myself. Okay? And in times like now, when this is like post COVID, the new normal, and people are actually settling in, businesses are picking up. Okay, and maybe there's many influences as well on the social and economic and demographic, if I may say, right? Because there are many things happening all around us, and globally we are getting closer and closer. It's unlike in the 19th century, or maybe in the 18th century. We are now in the coming to the 21st century. So things are totally different. Okay, private companies are sending rockets to space, and eventually people will be able to travel to space as well. And that's what Jenny mentioned earlier on terms of the social media platforms. We are bombarded daily, okay, because of the device that we carry, and many of us have a smartphone, and we are bombarded by that. So in a way, um, we cannot do without our smartphone. Yet at times we need to do away with our smartphone, right? And the demands of life every day is that, on top of being bombarded on the social media aspect. But if I can put it this way, being bombarded social media aspect is basically our choice, isn't it? It's our choice that we pick up the phone and then we start to browse through. Okay, and many phones actually can track your browsing time. So why are we in a way hurting ourselves in that sense? And then when we are bombarded with information, when we should actually look within ourselves first and find out what do we actually need and want, rather than letting the world out there telling us what we need or want. And in a way as well, when I mentioned earlier on about being overwhelmed, yes, we are always overwhelmed because of the demands from the external forces that demands from us, right? Business partners asking for certain issues, family members, children, parents, asking for this. So there's always a certain level of commitment. And it's always about how we balance it up. So by being overwhelmed, um, at times I tend to forget. I mean, being human, we tend to forget. So I had to, in a way, be mindful. So how did I do by being mindful? I had to stop in my track.
Mhm.
So we are always thinking about the future. And when people are thinking about future, they become anxious. They start to think about the what ifs. What if I were to do this? What if I were to do that? What if he said this? Or what should I have done? What should I need to do? So the anxiousness of worrying about the future when the future has not come. And here we are right now. We shouldn't be emphasizing on what should I do now at this point of time. So we are overwhelmed with a lot of things, um, external and internal. Internal will be very much on the emotional level when the anxiety comes up, when the worries come up, and maybe even regrets. thinking that I should have done this before. If I've done that before, I wouldn't be in this position. Okay? And I believe many others out there would feel the same as well. So
Yeah.
what you have done previously may or may have contributed to where you are today. Okay? But I always believe in this, there is no right or wrong. Whatever decisions that you make is based on the situation and the resources that you had at that point of time to bring it to bring you to where you are today. So likewise, if we are talking about the future, whatever decision or action that I do today or now, based on the situation that I'm in and with the resources that I have, and trust that will bring me to where I want to be in the future.
Yeah.
So it all begins in doing what is right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So the anchoring point is to be aware of where you are now, not tomorrow, or not where you were yesterday, but today, right now. So given a choice, as we always have a choice, is what actions do I need to take right now?
Exactly. I very much resonate with what you say. Um, for me, I just want to share like an experience that I have in terms of being burnout. And I think it's kind of like a social dilemma that we need to like address. And I don't feel like there's many conversation around this. So I was having a part-time job, and I just remember one day I came back home and I just being so drained, both physically and mentally. So I was lying on my bed, and after a long day, I couldn't even move. I couldn't even move to get myself a cup of water. So, and breathing feels very difficult to at that particular moment. So I just lie on my bed thinking and asking myself that, is this the kind of lifestyle that I want to have until the rest of my life? And oh my God, I'm just in my early 20s. I'm only in my early 20s. And I'm already feeling this, experiencing this very severe, overwhelming burnout. What would happen if I get to the age of like 30s or like 40s? Then what will happen to my mind and my body? So I think that was one of the key pivotal moments for me to realize that no amount of external achievements or external task that is worth trading my own well-being for. And I think it's true that, especially to young people nowadays, we're so exposed to all kinds of different informations on several numerous social media platforms. Every single day, there's a new platform for you to read something from, to share something on, and we're just so bombarded with a lot of information. And I think it's kind of overwhelming in that sense. We have a senses overload, which means all of our five senses are always, like over trigger all the time. So, as exactly like what you just shared, the key is to be aware and to really practice stopping. I think in mindfulness, one of the most foundational practice is to practice to stop, because it will be the starting point to every other practice. You have to really put a stop to whatever that you're doing right now, to start coming back to yourself or to start practicing something different. So it was my own experience, and I believe that a lot of other people out there, they share the similar experience as we do as well. So move on to the next question. Um, Can you share about how can we overcome this feeling of being guilty or not being productive in a society that glorifies business, being busy, or like glorifies the hustle culture? How do you think about that?
Okay. Um, that's a very interesting question, and it's very pertinent in times like now, when coming back again in terms of social media for that matter. Um, when I mentioned earlier on, when people start to browse, especially like let's say on Facebook, for instance, or even on Instagram, um, people normally put the good stuff there. And they don't put the bad stuff. They don't put any negativity over on this, right? And in most cases, it's always about putting about achievements. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to share your achievements. It's good to to bring it up so that others can see what you're doing. The only issue lies in when the viewer takes that in and starts to compare with his or her own achievements.
Mm.
And if they have a low self-esteem, okay, it can be very detrimental to their emotional health, because they will then start to compare with their friends. They may or may not know that friend on Facebook, isn't it? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. But they will start to compare that he or she is better than I am, or what can I do to be better than them. So eventually it becomes like a competition, an unconscious competition that's going on. And this is unhealthy. It's an unhealthy practice, because who are we competing against? It all boils down again to what the other party has. We do not know what resources they have or what situation that they're in, and yet we compare. It's like we are comparing an apple to an orange. Is it fair? No. But if we were to compare to what I am today to what I was yesterday, why don't we do that? If I want to be a better me today compared to yesterday, what do I need to do today so that I can be a better me tomorrow? Right? And the well, society glorifies achievements. Okay, and people seek validation from that glorification.
Yes.
Again, there's no harm in that. The harm comes in how they handle it,
How we interpret that.
how they interpret that. Okay? The ones with the low self-esteem, okay, will feel down. The ones with the high esteem, well, their their egos will overcome them. Isn't it? And we have seen many of them. So the handling part in terms of how we can overcome that guilty feeling, because the guilt is that we feel that we are inferior. That would be the guilt feeling. So we have to put aside the comparison between ourselves to other people. That is their life to lead. We have our own life to lead. We write our own story. I'm not writing Jenny's story, nor Jenny is writing my story. Jenny is writing her story. Wee Xiong is writing his own story. So what is the comparison there? What is the need for me to feel guilty about it? There isn't. So people need to have the clarity in their mind and their hearts, so that such guilt shouldn't exist in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, this is a very, I would say, like touching question for me because personally, this has been my problem for so many years. Um, because I used to have this habit of comparing my life with other people's life a lot, and this question addresses that, that guilty feeling when you feel like you're not being hardworking enough. And for me, it's a very personal experience whenever I take a rest, I would feel very guilty. So that's my truth. Um, and that was the reason why I find myself sometimes like pushing myself too hard, or like I would be too, like working overtime, or like just keeping myself busy because of that sense of, yeah, at least I'm being productive, so I'm not useless. And at first I thought it was only my experience, but when I talk to a lot of my friends, especially the young people, they all share the same experience. And it's exactly like what you say, it's because we grow up inside a society where every single success, every single moment of happiness is put up online. So I think for the past, like for the whole my life, I've been very exposed to that image of other people, you know, achieving a lot of things, being very hardworking, witnessing a lot of like miracle story when they escape poverty and become like a self-made millionaire. So I just feel like, okay, I need to kind of like replicate that because I don't want to feel like I'm not a valuable human being. Um, but after hearing what you share, and this is something that I have realized on my own journey as well, which is if you don't learn to appreciate and celebrate your growth on your own journey, then no amount of success would make you feel enough. You would never feel enough of yourself if you don't, if you are not mindful of what you have inside, what you have grown on your journey. And sometimes the growth can be very intangible. It can be something that you cannot see by the eyes. You cannot measure by like how much money you have in your bank account, or like how much certificates that you have. But sometimes it's the kind of growth that only you can see from the inside. Even your parents sometimes cannot see your internal growth. And the funny thing is, actually today I was just like writing this letter to one of uh, your peers, um, like a young person, right? Like me. And in the letter I was writing about how we need to train ourselves to always feel enough from the inside. It's actually something that we train our minds to do. Be mindful of your own values. Because, at the end of the day, I think the hustle culture, the habit of always draining ourselves out to work with our assignments, to work with our tasking from work, uh, running a business, all of that, at the end of the day, if you don't have a balance, it wouldn't make you a successful person. It would just make you a tired person. And the worst part to that is after you feel so drained and so tired, you still wouldn't feel enough of yourself. And I just realized that lesson after what you shared just now, which is after all, we are the people who write our own stories. And practicing mindfulness is one of the ways for us to recognize the journey that we have gone through and just keep working on our own journey without feeling the need of comparing that to anyone else because it's not relevant. Yeah, it's like comparing an orange to an apple, just like what you say. Yeah. So I think the anchoring point is to really get to know yourself and practicing detaching from society standard, because the standard doesn't apply to everyone. Everyone lives a different life. So yeah, when you get to know yourself, you will be more peaceful on your own time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
like to add one more thing. Um, when we are talking about ourselves, one method is to always take gratitude. Okay. And by taking gratitude in ourselves, in our own achievement, it's also by taking stock with what we have achieved. And one of the ways that has been taught before, and I would like to repeat it, is always to write down your achievements.
yeah,
Okay? Have a journal. I know you practice that. Have a journal to write down whatever that you have achieved for the day. Anything that's positive. Yeah. So that serves as a booster, as a motivation for one. Secondly, it also serves as a proof that your day wasn't wasted.
mm,
Okay. It serves also as a reminder that we are always seeking out for the positivities in our lives on a daily basis. What we can do to improve. Okay. So let's say for one who is a student, for instance, what have they done in school? What have they achieved in school? Maybe it could be a question that the teacher posed out, the difficult questions that they managed to answer. Right? Or it could be on a personal basis, something that they did to help at home. Right? Or on a professional basis for someone who is working, what have they achieved at work? Okay? It could be even the simplest form of helping an old lady, holding a hand to cross the road in a busy traffic, isn't it? So all these little things are the things that add up together that make it worthwhile, rather than feeling guilty that they think that they have not achieved. Okay? Our our programming, our mindset, our values are different. Even our intentions are different. It's a matter of how we align all this together to make each day worthwhile. Okay? So there shouldn't be any comparison to others. The only one to compare is ourselves. Okay? So in a way, always have this gratitude journal handy. Okay, write it down. It could be just 5 for the day. Sometimes it could be 7, 8, 9, or even 10. And at times it could be even 1. Doesn't matter. At least 1. Yeah.
I also have this habit. At first, I thought that it wouldn't help, but having that journal where I write down my achievement of the day has brought the biggest change to my mental health and overall well-being ever since. And I just want to have like a quick message to, especially to the young people like me. We don't need to really achieve anything big to be considered productive, because the point of life, I believe, up until now, it's we wouldn't go through life trying to be productive. It wouldn't give much meaning to our life. But sometimes productivity can look like you try on that day. You give it your best, try that day. For some people, it may be like get out of the bed. For people who struggle with mental well-being, it can be like getting out of the bed. Someday I find it very hard to get out of my bed, to be honest. Someday it would be okay, you get out of your bed and you finally eat properly. Like as young people, like as a young person, someday when I'm not feeling well mentally, I wouldn't want to eat as well. So someday productivity can look like you finally eat something that has like proper nutrition. Someday it can be like going down for a walk. Someday it can be, oh, you are aware that you feel better than yesterday. Like to me, that's my reframing on productivity. And if you look at productivity at like the little improvement that you have every day, you will see that you are improving every single day. You're becoming better every single day. It doesn't have to be something big, very big. Yeah. So um, definitely it's a great practice for any one of us. And I would highly recommend that as well. Yeah, and move on to the next question. I think this is a pretty interesting question as well. Um, what is your daily self routine, like self care routine to relax, even when you have very limited time? What is like your non negotiable kind of activity that help you stay grounded every single day?
I think I believe in having enough rest, having enough sleep. Um, my sleeping time is a bit erratic, but I always tend to go to bed between the hours of at least 10:30. Maybe the latest will be 11:30. I used to sleep very late, and then I find that it becomes it makes me feel even tired the next day, right? So at times I will be very tired because of a full day, and I'll be just dozing off by the time I 9:30. Okay. Um. So if I sleep early, I tend to wake up very early. And it could be due to age. I do not know. Possibly. So I'll probably take around 5 hours to 6 hours of sleep. And at times I wake up about normally I wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning. So my routine during those times is those are the best times in the morning. And there's an author who always the 5 a.m.
Yeah, Robin Sharma.
Yeah, Robin Sharma. Okay. 5 a.m. you can do a lot of things at 5 a.m. Okay. When the whole world or is sleeping, you can achieve a lot of things personally on a personal basis. I'm not talking about work, for instance. Right? Those times you can basically meditate. And I meditate. Okay. If other things do not crop out, first thing is I will try to meditate. Meditation comes in form of either I will just do some reading, okay, um, or in a way I will pre-program myself on what today is going to transpire, right? Like what do I need to do for the day? So first thing is to keep myself blank, my mind blank. I will breathe. Okay? Find a quiet spot in your house. Okay? I would normally go to my porch, okay? When I can feel the morning air. I can breathe in the morning air, right? Some of us may be living in high-rise areas. If you have a balcony, go ahead or find a quiet space in your house, in your apartment, or in your even in your room. Okay, allocate a space where you feel comfortable, and then do some reading. Right? The habit of many, and I always sometimes I will try to avoid is having my handset with me, and you start opening up your phone and start looking through.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, so we have to um, avoid and prevent the habit of doing that. Okay? Because me or ourselves is the most important thing for that part of the morning. And I'm not saying that all of us need to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm saying it's recommended that we need to wake up early. But again, circumstances for each and every one of us are different. Okay? But rest, having enough rest is very important for our health. Right? And I have known people who are within my age group or even younger who have chronic illnesses because they do not have enough rest. Okay. In my younger days, yes, I don't rest enough. I was a workaholic. Okay. And being in an industry that demanded a lot, I used to work like 16 hours per day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, non-stop. And it is um, a very high, intense job, but the demands is never ending. So you can imagine if the demands were not demanding, I would not be working 16 hours per day, isn't it? So I had to get up from there. Yeah, I had to get up from there, find ways of what I need to do. So eventually I got up from there. But at times when you get up from there, it's like jumping from the pot into the fire, or jumping from the frying pan into the fire, isn't it? So for the youngest one like you, when you are not even working yet, but when you are starting to work, the utmost thing on people's mind is career. I want to work hard. I want to prove myself in this world. I want to prove myself to my bosses. I want to prove myself to the to my company. And so we go all out. We work we work like dogs, you know, and we slog ourselves, you know, whether inside the office or outside the office, we basically slog. So that we need to earn again to earn the recognition. And that is what society demands. So the balancing part is not easy. Okay. The routine part is, in a way, we need to always be with ourselves before we give ourselves out to the world. That's why I said having the 5 a.m. routine is good, because then when the world is still asleep, you can be in touch. You can be in touch with yourself. You can connect back to yourself again after a good night's sleep. So the sleeping part is important. And after sleeping part is to be able to attach, to connect with yourself, your inner self, so that your inner being will be prepared to bring you out. And when daylight breaks, when you go out there to do what you need to do, you will not be at loss. You will always have a firm footing. Okay? And the other one is also to do exercises, because people lack in exercises. The only exercise they do is with their thumb and finger nowadays. Right? If you know what I'm saying. Right? So exercise. Yes, there are some people who subscribe to gym memberships, they go and gym and all. Okay. That's good. But if you do not have the liberty, there are so many applications that's available. Free, and some we may probably need to pay a certain minimum fee. Join, subscribe to those applications. Most of them are very good. Okay? Whether in terms of exercises, in terms of meditation, right? There are many available. Okay? Take it, subscribe to one, and then commit to it. Commit to it. Because by being healthy physically, okay, the first part is to be healthy emotionally, to be healthy spiritually. The next part is to be healthy physically. Okay? When you're young, everything is flexible. Right? And as you age to a half century, like myself, okay,
Your body started to like slow
things
down.
start to tighten up. Right? Things really start to tighten up. Things start to creak. Right? It's like, the hinge of the door. When you open, your limbs, your joints will start to creak.
You can actually hear your bones. Your
Yeah,
bone is making
yeah.
sound right now.
My knees creak when I walk up the stairs. Okay, they used to do that. So what I did was, I did exercises that helped me to strengthen my thighs and basically my leg muscles. Okay, that is the reason. Okay, we don't need to do extensive weightlifting. No, there are exercises, like I said, there are applications, many applications out there. We have a variety depending on your physical level, depending on the time that you have. Okay, so it's all programmed within. If you only have half an hour to spare every day, they have half an hour programs that you can use. Okay? So we need to be more flexible. Right? We need to build up our physical health. We need to build up, not to say to build up muscles, but we again need to have a proper uh, build that is available as and when we need it. Okay. Third one is whatever that you put in your mouth, the food that you put in, right? I try to refrain from having too much processed food. Okay, sometimes the snack, the chips, the potato chips, and they are not real chips. Yeah, they're all processed food. Okay? Um, it's it is sometimes we can't avoid it because the lure is too strong, and I do indulge once in a while in snacks. Yeah, I mean I'm only human, right? See, however, we need to make sure what we put in our mouth, what we eat. Whole food is the key. Whole food here means that um, for those who take poultry, for instance, or meat, okay, if it's a chicken, it's chicken, right? If
Not
you're
chicken.
taking a chicken, it's chicken, right? Not nuggets, not nuggets or burgers.
Not really chicken though.
Yeah. If it's other types of meat, then make sure it's the actual meat. Or fish, for instance, that is the whole fish, right? Not fish fingers. Okay? Because it's fast food, it's processed meat, they go through a whole process and all. Whole food here are uh, absent of preservatives, chemicals. If you're going for vegetables, go directly for vegetables. Go for leafy greens. Okay, if you're vegan, I mean, I think vegans don't need to be told on this, but those who are eating less vegetables, those who are taking more on meat, do have a balanced diet. Do have a balanced diet because scientific studies have shown heavy meat eaters are prone or have a higher percentage of getting cancer. Okay? Not to say the vegans don't get. Okay, the vegans do get as well. It's a matter of what we put in our mouth, right? What we eat. The whole food is very important. So to me, um, in a way, sometimes due to busy schedule, we do not have a liberty to cook lunch. So normally lunch is always either takeaways or we eat out, okay, or eat out. But again, to ensure when we do that, to ensure that the food that you have is always at least a higher percentage of it are whole food. Taking a lot of water helps also. Okay, it's not the 8 glasses as what is always recommended. It's actually around 1.5 to 2 liters of water per day. So you always have water bottles. Some people I know, they always have a big bottle. Yeah, yours is about 500 ml. Yeah, so you need to refill at least 4 times a day.
Actually, my strategy to increase my movement as I have to like walk to the kitchen, so I avoid eating too much.
Yeah. And being sedentary, because the lifestyle itself is already sedentary. Many people are sedentary, especially I mean, if I'm in Malaysia, when people are very much relying on their own transport, cars, for instance. Okay. In comparison to people in Singapore, Hong Kong, maybe, and even Japan, where they have a higher usage of public transport, and people walk most of the time in order to transit from one public transport, let's say a bus, to the MRT or train. So people tend to walk a lot, even in Japan as well, isn't it? But in Malaysia, people don't. In Malaysia, people, when they drive, they will try to park right in front of the shop they want to go to. Okay? If they can park at the doorstep, they'll park at the doorstep. Right? So people don't walk much. And like I said, people lead sedentary lifestyles here. So there is always knowing how and what we need to do. Right? So exercise is one. So I don't run, but I do ride. So whenever I have the luxury of the time to ride, I'll ride. But if I don't have, I will tend to do exercises at home.
Mhm.
So it's always a mixture of weight by using weight resistance, my own body weight, and also by doing aerobic exercises that have some form of resistance training within it, embedded within. See, like I said, we need to strengthen our muscle. We need to strengthen our bones. So as we age, our bones become brittle because our body's absorption of calcium is getting less and less. But actually, exercises help us to work, helps our body to work on the calcium absorption to build up our bones. So that when we strengthen our bones and we also strengthen our muscles at the same time, okay, we are no longer prone to those minor injuries that one may have if they suffer a fall.
Yeah.
Okay. So we see many people who fall and then they get fractures and all, especially people who are older. Young people may also fall, but they don't break their bones as easily as people who are older.
Mhm.
Okay, but nonetheless doesn't mean that young people can just simply go around jumping around and don't care, about whatever that happens. There's always a certain level of understanding and mindfulness that's attached. Yeah. So in a gist, that is what I do, especially in the mornings. And then after that, come to meal times again. Night, we always try to have cooked meals. Again, whole food. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It always need to be a fine balance between um, vegetables and meat. Or sometimes it could be basically purely vegetable based. Okay. We will add in some tofu for protein. Right. Rice is always a staple, yes, but taking less rice. Because
Yeah.
rice, by taking too much, I used to eat like 2 plates of rice.
Wow.
It's a lot. Okay. When I was young, around your age, up to about maybe around 30s, I learned how to cut down on my rice. So now I'll probably take about maybe a 3/4 plate or sometimes a half plate of rice. But I'll make sure I have more on the rest of the stuff, maybe the meat and the vegetables and fruits as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm very happy to hear you having a touch on not just the mind part, the mind and the spirit part, but also when we talk about, daily routine, self-care routine, um, it's very much about the body as well, the physical body. Because I study in nutrition and exercise. So everything that you discussed just now, it's basically my profession. And I very much resonate with you. There's one non-negotiable for me, in terms of my well-being, is having a walk every single day. And yeah, if you ask my parents, I could sacrifice doing a lot of things, but not my walk, my daily walk. Yeah, so every day I just try to get um a medium to like intensive amount of movement, because I noticed that my overall well-being, especially in terms of my mentality, it has been like skyrocketed ever since I take care of my physiology, my physical body. And yeah, another thing is in terms of nutrition, it may be irrelevant to how it will increase your productivity, but it does. In terms of, having you to have a much better clarity in your brain, not having brain fog, focusing better, getting better good grades at school, achieving more at work. It's very much about your physical body, especially the things that you decide to put in your body. So um I also try to eat like as organic as I can, incorporate a lot of fruits and veggies into my diet. And I always encourage my body, my family, my friends, and my loved ones to eat whole foods as well. I'm not a kind of person who would like point fingers like you have to eat this, you have to eat that, because we're all humans. So sometimes we'll have some snacks. But I do tell my family and my loved ones that um, I hope you can eat healthy so you can stay with me for a long time. I think when you really make a decision to take care of your body, especially in terms of choosing the food that you eat, is not just an act of love towards yourself, but it's an act of love towards all of your loved ones. Because um, based on what I study nowadays, 90% of the diseases right now that we're facing in the modern century, it comes from poor nutrition, and it comes from the lack of movement. And everything, all of those things, all of those diseases can actually be prevented. So really, we just need to be more mindful in terms of our daily routine on all three levels: the level of the mind, the level of the body, and the level of your spirit as well, your energy, your emotional well-being as well. So yeah, and um, move on to, I think, the last question. What are some simple mindfulness techniques that can help us unwind and find calm, especially when we are, in the middle of a hectic.
Okay, the see when we are in a busy mode, um, when our mind has a lot of things running at the same time, and we're trying to achieve, to complete tasks at hand, we always tend to be overwhelmed. So bringing back to what we discussed earlier, we always need to know when to stop. We need to know to identify that, hey, look, this is getting out of hand. Right? I need to stop whatever I'm doing. I need to stop what I'm thinking. It can be easy as this, like a snap of a finger. Okay? And yet many people don't realize that, because it's the demands of the external factors that demand them to do it. Okay? Or it can also be a self-imposed demand. It can be, in a way, to put it, that they expect an unrealistic expectation of themselves. That I need to do this, I need to complete this.
I feel like you're describing me. I have very high expectations of myself, and it leads to a lot of burnout, a lot of time.
There is nothing wrong with having high expectation, because we always set a certain level of standard, a degree of standard for our own self, isn't it? But we also need to be realistic in terms of what we need to achieve. That's why when I mentioned earlier on in terms of what my habits are, okay, I'm still practicing, and nobody's perfect, but we always try to practice that. Is that what do I need to do for the day? And always have a certain visualization of what needs to be done. You could even have a to-do list available, okay, rather than trying to remember everything, because then that you will achieve burnout, because you will burn yourself out trying to remember what you need to do or what needs to be completed. So always have a checklist ready, and that checklist can be done a day before, or it can be done whatever they've done in the morning, and then you have the time to, you need to set, you see, we need to set a time for ourselves to sit down and write out what we need to do for the day, or maybe record it onto our device. Those who do not have a pen or pencil, record your to-do list onto your device, what you need to be done for the day. If you could even put it into your calendar, what needs to be done according to the time span, then you would have a very clear picture of the task that you have ahead. And once you complete, it's done. So that is also a sense of achievement. When you're done the first task for the day, it's really an achievement, isn't it? Rather than being overwhelmed, like I have so many things to do. You know, some people will say, you hear friends, I got so many things to do. I don't know what I need to do. Where do I need to start? Or what needs to be done? See? Because again, setting up your priorities. Where are your priorities? What is it? What is important doesn't mean it's urgent, isn't it? But people tend to get all this mixed up. They tend to mix up urgency and importance together. There are things that are not important, but they are urgent. That needs to be settled, because if you don't do it, you don't complete it, it will bog you for the rest of the day or for the rest of the week. It could be a very simple task, and yet maybe some people who procrastinate and they don't do it. But once they have it done, it's really out from the picture. It's really out from there, and they can focus on what's next. So it's always about pacing themselves. See, it's just like a runner. Okay? The difference between a sprinter and a marathon runner is what? Besides the distance.
I think it's the speed, like
Exactly.
constants.
Yes. It's a clear example. A sprinter basically sprints from the gunshot, from the start. He or she goes all out. Whether it's 100 meters or 200 meters, they will go all out to the finishing line. But if the marathon runner were to run that kind of pace, he probably wear himself down in the first 10 kilometers. So they need to do pacing. They need to pace themselves. They need to pace their breathing. Sprinters sometimes don't breathe.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't breathe. Yeah, I was a sprinter, so I didn't breathe for the first 50 meters. You will hold your breath, you just go all out. Adrenaline comes in to push you, and whatever training they have is the programming that you have in your trainings subconsciously would be the one that is driving the sprinter forward all the way to the finishing line. Whereas the marathon runner, and most of us are marathon runners in terms of life, so we need to pace ourselves. We cannot be overwhelmed by the itsy-bitsy little things in life. And many people are overwhelmed by the itsy-bitsy little things in life then they forget and they overlook the things that matters.
Exactly. I
Work.
want to add on, because this is like completely resonate with uh, myself, and I do notice that I have this lifestyle until I could see that it's not sustainable in terms of my overall wellness, because I'm actually a sprinter. I would like try to accomplish as many tasks as possible, but it's not really an effective way. And yeah, coming back to what we talked about just now, like the question, I think one of the techniques is just to be mindful of the amount of work that you are um, committed to do on a daily basis. And I actually got this idea from the book Atomic Habits, that kind of like emphasize on doing small things, very easy to achieve things, but repeatedly on, a regular basis. So I kind of like in the middle of changing myself from a sprinter to a marathon runner, where I just set out like maximum 5 important tasks that I want to accomplish on that day, and then just maximum 5. Do not go overboard. And I witnessed my productivity has been, improved so much ever since then. And I think another thing that we can add on is okay, when we catch ourselves in the middle of a very hectic schedule, and one of the things for us to be mindful and know when to stop is like to tell the signs of our body and our mind on when to stop. So for me, if I sit in front of the computer for too long, my body will get pretty stagnant. I would feel physically tired, and I notice myself, studying get more difficult to focus. And I know those are the signs for me to stop and unwind. So I think it's very, very important for us to, because sometimes like when we are in the middle of something, it's very hard to stop. But we have to be mindful and be aware enough to just put a stop to that. And those are the signs for me to put a
We
stop and just go on.
yeah. We need to trust the process. Okay? So like many who are desk bound, meaning that they are working with the computer most of the time, maybe the whole day. We need to step aside. Okay? Step aside, have a break, go to the pantry, have a drink, or take something. Or maybe just step aside, look outside the window and see what's happening outside, for 5 minutes or so. Just to be away. Just to be away from the process. And even though no matter how important, yes, there are certain times when we cannot just stop and drop everything. We need to complete it, do so. But after that, once done, reward yourself. Reward yourself by stepping out, taking a breather, get out from the office. Or for most of us who are now working from home, get out from your computer, get out from your chair. Go to your garden, go to your porch or whatever. Take a walk. Do something else. So long as you are breaking the rhythm, you are breaking state. In NLP, we have this thing called break state. We break state. Right? So by breaking state is to bring the person to a different state. If you are busy thinking about certain things, and once done, we need to break state. Why? It's actually to have a different kind of feeling, a different perspective. Okay. But ultimately, it's so that we do not sink in too deep. And many people sink in too deep in that instance. They sink in too deep in their job. They always mistake commitment to the job, right? To be to the first question that you asked earlier on, to be busy in that sense, the commitment to the job. So it creates a very um fictitious,
Yeah.
a very fictitious facade. It's like I need to do this. It's something very important. I need to do this. No, you can
Why
always
not something very important?
yeah, yeah. Even if it's important, is it urgent? That was my question earlier on, isn't it? Even if it's important, is it urgent? So even though it's important but it's not urgent, what is 5 minutes break? See, it's always about we have the choice. A lot of people say that I don't have enough time. Okay. We have the same amount of time, each and every one of us. Okay. And there are people who say that you don't understand me. You don't understand my situation. But yes, I do not understand your situation. Who understands your situation better than yourself? Okay. So by saying so, we need to understand our situation. We need to understand that we have the choice. If I can put a comma on a sentence, I can put a comma on a sentence. Because I'm the one that's writing my story. I'm the one that is constructing that sentence. And I should know when I should put a comma or when should I put a period. Right? Because I'm the writer. Nobody else is. Okay. So by using that analogy, we need to know when we need to break state. So otherwise, we will be running ourselves down deeper and deeper. And many times, like even like today, the depression level has increased. mental illnesses have increased in many people, whether young or old. And why so? Because they lost the control on themselves. So people need to know how to gain control back. And the other part is always learning how to breathe. We need to breathe. We need to set aside time. We need to breathe. So by saying so, let's go through a breathing exercise. Would that be fine?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this breathing exercise, you could be sitting anywhere. You could be at your desk. You could be on the train, on the public transport. Okay. Or you could even be on an airplane. Right. Some people travel because they need to travel for work, and they're always rushing from airport to airport. Okay. Or you could be in a waiting lounge. Let's say you could be in a waiting lounge in the airport. It can be anywhere. This exercise doesn't require much of your time. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 10 minutes or so. So what we're going to do now is, okay, wherever you are, find a place that you're comfortable. Okay, find a position that you're comfortable. You're sitting on the floor. Good. Sit on the floor. If you can cross your leg. Okay, or you can stretch out your leg if you can. Find somewhere soft so that your bumps will not hurt, but it's only about 5 minutes. Okay. If you're sitting on a chair like we are, okay, find a comfortable position. Place both of your feet flat on the floor. Okay. Place your palms on your thigh, on your knees or on your thigh. Okay. Try to sit upright. Keep your backbone straight if you can. Okay. Loosen up your shoulder. Okay. Loosen up your neck. Close your eyes. Right. So just breathe like normal. Breathe through your nose. You feel the air going in and out from your nose. Okay. Just loosen your shoulders if your shoulders feel tight. Just loosen them up a bit. Loosen your neck muscles. Okay. Just wiggle your toes. Okay. And wiggle your fingers. And just continue breathing like normal. Right? Okay, the next one that we're going to do is we're going to do some inhaling exercise, inhaling and exhaling. So when you start to inhale through your mouth. And then at the count of 3, right at the count of 3, hold your breath. 1, 2, 3. Hold your breath. 2, 3, 2, 1. And exhale through your mouth. 3, 2, 1. Then inhale again through your nose. 1, 2, 3. Hold. 3, 2, 1. And exhale. 1, 2, 3. Just continue doing it, counting on your own. And try to keep your mind blank. There may be many thoughts coming in your mind, coming into your head. So one way to avoid them is to focus on your breathing. Feel the air filling up your lungs. And then when you exhale, push out all the air. So just focus on your breathing. Continue to breathe. So whenever any thoughts come into your mind, just focus on your breathing. The next one is when you inhale, feel your lower abdomen expanding where your stomach is. When you exhale, feel your stomach contracting. It's pushing out all the air. And when you inhale, feel it expanding again. Okay. The next is bring your hands up, rub them together. Feel the warmth in your hands, in your palms. And place your palms over your eyes. Slowly rub your eyes. At the same time, open your eyes. And release your palms. Okay. So this is basically a very short breathing method, because we have time constraint. Okay? But if you could do it, if you can do it like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or even up to 1 hour, it's very great. Okay? The breathing actually helps in terms of your focus, how to connect yourself again, because like I said, you have a lot of things in your mind. A lot of thoughts will come in when you're doing it. How to avoid it is to focus back on the breathing. The extension and detension of your abdomen, okay, can also help with your bowel movements. So some of the people there may have issues with constipation. Okay, and I share this to you is I have a friend years ago who has constipation. He can only probably go to the loo like 2 or 3 days, and that's very bad. Okay, we need to do it. We need to do it every day to clear our bowels, but he can only do it like 2 or 3 days. He had very bad constipation. So I told him, do this technique even when you're driving. Okay, because he used to travel a lot. And 3 days later, he called me up and he told me it worked. He doesn't have any constipation at all, and he has been having proper bowel movement on a daily basis. Okay. So this is not it's not a magic kind of thing. It is basically knowing how our body works. Right? And again, to be mindful also, if to end the session is, like our smartphones, we have all sorts of notifications, isn't it? Turn off all those notifications.
I do turn off all my notifications. It has
I turn
done
off.
wonders to my mental health.
Yeah, it does, because we are so, before we turn off, we are so controlled by our phones.
Enslaved.
We are enslaved by it. Every time it sounds or it chimes, we would have the tendency to pick it up and see.
Oh my God, I need to reply to this message right now, this email right now.
Yeah, yeah. And don't look at messages in the night before you sleep. I used to do that and I could not sleep soundly. So I stopped doing that. And I would educate people, those who want to send me messages. Look, you have a phone. If it's really urgent, call me. Call me. If it's not urgent, you can leave the message there. I will reply to you when I look. I have people who would eventually call me up and scolded me. How come you never reply to my messages?
Oh, I have the same problem too.
Eh? Because when I off my notification, I don't see it. I only see it whenever I want to see it.
Yeah.
Right? So I get scolded. How come you never reply to my messages? So of course I apologize, but I told them I do not on the notification. So if your questions or your requests are urgent, you could have actually called me. And now we have gladly answered, regardless of the time of the day or the night. Okay, because my ringer is on. Okay, but because being in the line that I am, sometimes I do receive emergency calls in the night or in the wee hours of the morning. Okay, so I need to attend to that. But so please, so it's a matter of educating the people around you as well. And for those who are listening, do understand this as well. Okay? Because people's lives do not revolve around us. Bear that in mind. Huh? People's lives do not revolve around us, nor do our life revolve around others.
Yeah.
See, we have to give people the due respect, and we have to give ourselves the due respect as well. So there's always a certain boundary that we need to put in, because being mindfulness is also about establishing this boundary. When AI and technology has already been intertwined into our lives, we need to set the boundaries. Because if we do not set the boundaries, how can we practice mindfulness? Right? Yeah. So that's all I have to share for this session.
It was a very beautiful session, and all of the things that you shared just now, all of the techniques, they may sound so simple, and especially if there's any young person other than me watching this, I know that it may sound unfamiliar to us, or even like the adults as well, because we're so used to this lifestyle where everything is like rushing. We have to rush for everything. We have to keep ourselves busy for everything. But all of this will help you build a very strong foundation, a very strong root towards your own life. And to me, that's real living. When we're not being enslaved by the external, whatever it's being out there, but we're actually having enough mindfulness to know that I do own my life. My schedule, my busy schedule doesn't own me. My busy schedule is not like making me into a slave, but I would actually use all those tools to make my life better. And I think the only way for us to do that is to practice these techniques, no matter how simple and no matter how trivial they might seem, but they will do wonders to you into your overall life. So yeah,
Yep.
once I would like to say thank you to Wei Xiong, and thank you to each and everyone who tuned in to this mindfulness session that we have today. And I would very much love to see you all again in the next session. Do you have any last word to all of the audience?
Yes. Just always stop when you feel overwhelmed, learn to breathe, yeah, and always take stock of where you are today and what you have today. Okay? Because if you don't, nothing will be enough. Yeah. So with this, we will end this session now, and we will see you in the next session by next month, isn't it? Yeah. But keep in tune. Like and share our Facebook JT Mindfulness Facebook page, and you'll be kept updated. Every now and then, our JT Mindfulness coaches will have postings. We'll have postings on the Facebook page, and we also update on our next session through the Facebook page as well. Okay. So all again, thanks again. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. Namaste.
Stay